used to envy those long marriages, 20 and 30 years together. I thought they had what I was desperate to build. I prayed, fasted, and went to counseling, but nothing worked. And now, years later, I realized the truth. Some of those marriages weren't healthy. They were just quiet prisons, hiding behind Sunday smiles. Today, I'm a divorced Christian woman. And no, I don't wear that like a badge of shame. I wear it as proof that I chose truth over appearances. In this video, I'm going to show you what marriage was really meant to be according to God. Not fear, not dysfunction, not broken people pretending to be whole. So, if you're dating, married, or newly divorced, and you want to know what God actually intended for marriage, this is the video you can't afford to skip. When I was in my toxic marriage, I spent countless hours trying to figure out how I could get my marriage to be like the ones I saw around me. The couples married for 10, 20, and 30 years. I felt so depressed and defeated that no matter what I tried, whether it was counseling or marriage sermons or whatever, none of it worked for me. Now I look back at those same marriages and I realize that those same couples are faking it. They aren't together because they're happy. They're together because they're afraid of becoming a divorced Christian. Well, now I'm a divorced Christian. I didn't let fear keep me from moving towards freedom. I'm happier and more motivated and hopeful than I've ever been. My relationship with God is deeper and more fulfilling than it's ever been. The same people I used to admire, my heart now breaks for. Don't get me wrong, divorce sucks. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But toxic marriage is so much worse. And I wouldn't choose to stay in a counterfeit marriage just to avoid divorce. And neither should you.
A lot of us have participated in marriage counseling and things like that. But it's with people whose marriages are superficial, who, are still these people that are going around saying marriage is hard work and you really got to work at it and all of those kinds of things. And so we're getting advice from people who don't have the type of marriage that we want, right? And so it's just so important to understand that concept that it has to be between two whole people. And so we've got so many Christians running around here with hurt on top of hurt and brokenness on top of brokenness. And then it's just like, okay, let me just hold it in long enough to get married. And it's like, it's not long before the cracks start to show in your lack of relationship with God or in your, hurting that you have been hiding. And so you can't expect for someone else to just be fine with your brokenness, because when you've got two broken people coming together, you're going to have a broken marriage. If you want a whole marriage and a marriage that functions the way that God's relationship does with his bride, and in that perfection, you've got to have two whole people. And so, and don't confuse whole with perfect. I'm not saying two perfect people. No one is perfect, okay? We're not saying you have to be perfect. We're just saying that you need to have a relationship with God. You need to let him deal with the hurts and the hangups and the strongholds and things that you got. And you need to be in a place where you're whole and happy with God. And alone. There are so many people that they can't be alone. They're always in a relationship. They're always with somebody. They barely let the ink dry on their dress before they're dating. And those kinds of things are indicators that you're not healed. If you can't spend more than 2 days by yourself, you've got to always have somebody around. You've got to always be doing something. That's an indicator that you need to get healed. You need to let God heal you. And you need to sit down somewhere and don't drag someone else into your brokenness. And because I've seen it time and time again where you've got either two broken people or you've got a person that's whole marrying a broken person. And then it's not long before they're both broken. And it's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your children that you may have one day. It's not fair to them. And so, let's really get in the habit of understanding what marriage really is, that, God never intended for it to be two broken people put together. He never intended that. He literally sent his son to die so that we could have life and life more abundantly. So, let's understand what that looks like for our, individual selves so that we can come together and then understand what it looks like together.
I am Amanda Nicole, and I am the CEO of Freedom Through Divorce. And so I create personal development courses and ebooks and all kinds of things that are geared towards women of God who have been through divorce, who are considering divorce, and who want to move towards freedom and finding their purpose in God.
So, what is Freedom Through Divorce? Well, Freedom Through Divorce is actually an online school full of personal development courses for women of God who have been through divorce or who are considering divorce. Anyone who has had to deal with divorce understands that it is extremely difficult. There are so many balls that you have to juggle. Will the children be okay? Is this something that God is going to be okay with? How does it affect my relationship with God? How am I going to learn how to be independent as a new single person or a new single mom? And there's so many things you have to consider. And as a Christian, there are just so few resources out there to help you understand how to navigate those things. So this is a school that really goes from considering divorce and understanding God's views on divorce, when it's acceptable, when it's not acceptable, and understanding that there are so many more cases where God sees divorce as acceptable than what is normally taught out there. And it does it in a way that is not condescending, that's not judgmental, that is just giving you the information from God's heart. And most importantly, is from someone that's been through what you're going through. It's not just theology. It's not just, I read this or I heard this, but it's someone that's actually walked through it. So the personal development courses are meant to help you move and experience freedom through divorce, because there's so many people who they get a divorce, but they don't thrive afterwards. They stay stuck. They stay bitter. They stay telling anyone that'll listen how terrible their ex is. And that's not God's plan for you. God wants you to be able to move towards the purpose and plan that He has for your life and to thrive so that the chapter of your life post-divorce is better. That's what the word says. It says your latter days shall be greater than the former days. So that's what Freedom Through Divorce is all about. It's personal development courses that you can take the information from a biblical perspective and experiencing God's freedom, His prosperity, His love, His joy, His peace, all of the fruits of the Spirit and the blessings that He sent His Son to die for you to be able to have. Just because you've had to go through a divorce does not mean that you are negated from the promises that God has for you. So that's what Freedom Through Divorce is. If you're interested in learning more, visit our school today.